Good morning, everyone. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is how do you say the name capital L-O, capital R-A? I totally admit that I don't own a smart speaker or a smart video doorbell. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's the time it would take to get these things set up and working. Maybe it's the money, or probably just plain lack of interest. However, last week I read an article that piqued my interest in them titled, Amazon is turning Echo and Ring into transmitters on June 8th. I thought it might be of interest to many of our TFSers. The article appeared in the Ask Woody newsletter and was written by Brian Livingston, who has more than 30 years experience as a technology writer. From 2003 to 2010, Brian was editorial director of the Windows Secrets newsletter, a weekly email publication with helpful information about using Microsoft Windows. I was a longtime subscriber, as was our co-host Ron Brown. Writer Livingston said that users may not be expecting it, but those nice little Echo speakers you bought to play music or whatever, as well as your Ring cams, Level brand door locks, and so forth, will begin talking to a gaggle of gadgets that may be up to several miles from your home. It's also happening on different dates in many other countries around the world, but June 8th has been set as the start date in the US. I was unable to confirm the start date in Canada. This data channel is always on and won't use your Wi-Fi. Rather, certain of these devices will be using a new type of capability that Amazon and others have embedded into them in the last 3 years. I'll explain further. Buried within these products are both Bluetooth transceivers and a different type of longer range, lower power transmission signal called, and here's the pronunciation, LoRa. It's for long range, and it uses the license-free 950 megahertz frequency in the US, different frequencies in other countries. Bluetooth, of course, is limited to a range of roughly 30 feet. LoRa is a proprietary low-power wide area modulation technique based on spread spectrum modulation. Semtech.com, a multinational corporation located in California, is the developer of LoRa. Once enabled, both Bluetooth and LoRa can exchange data with other devices. For instance, if you have a little Bluetooth transceiver connected dial tracker on your key ring, you can make lost keys play a ringtone or show up on a map with your smartphone. By the way, when you first purchased your smart devices, you likely clicked OK to some legalisms, boilerplate, that opened you up to this arrangement, which facilitates what Amazon calls its sidewalk service. Now, sidewalk service sounds like a church with serious social distancing, says Livingston, but the program is actually a kind of a mesh network of LoRa chipsets that Amazon has embedded in many of its devices over the last 3 years. These chipsets are the secret sauce, allowing devices up to several miles apart to communicate with each other. If pinpointing your keys were limited solely to Bluetooth signals, you and your key ring would only need to be within typical Bluetooth range, but LoRa can be different. Of course, the wider area sidewalk service will work the best when a lot of people are running Amazon devices. Sidewalk-capable products using LoRa include the Ring Spotlight Cam Wired, Ring Spotlight Cam Mount, Ring Floodlight Cam, and other gizmos that are usually placed outside a home or office. Inside a building, LoRa transceivers are built into a lot of Echo devices. You can read them: Echo Dot, Echo Flex, Echo Input, Echo Plus, Echo Show, Echo Spot, Echo Studio, and even some other devices. Writer Livingston says third-party vendors are hopping onto the Amazon sidewalk and promising us every kind of cool trick this side of personal jetpacks. For example, Careband Incorporated, a company in Chicago that sells wearables, has funding from the National Institute on Aging and plans wristbands to help caregivers find wandering patients via sidewalk signals. That's unusual. The uses of LoRa transceivers are limited only by the imagination, but individuals are not likely to be the biggest users of this low power service. Instead, think of all those trucks that Amazon uses to provide speedy deliveries, even 4-hour same-day delivery in major cities. Millions of places in the US alone already have Echo, Ring, and other devices with LoRa chipsets. Wouldn't it be convenient for Amazon taskmasters, the guys that run the show, to communicate short messages to their drivers through your smart doorbell? Interesting, huh? The company's logistics arm could use it to track high-value deliveries using small tile-type trackers, for instance, says Christopher Mims, a writer for the Wall Street Journal. Amazon's messaging won't seriously dent anyone's Wi-Fi speeds. The default bandwidth choice will be LoRa, which is primarily intended for small bursts of data. In theory, the spec offers at most only 27 kilobits per second. That's nothing. That's less data than the old 56K modems could push through a landline in the 1990s. Every app is different, but here are some general rules of thumb. If you have an Echo device, use your Alexa app to open the settings window. You can change your Amazon Sidewalk preferences there. If you have a Ring device, go to the control center in the Ring app and change the Amazon Sidewalk preference there. If you've linked your Ring and Amazon accounts, changing your Sidewalk preferences, using either Alexa or your Ring app will affect all of your compatible Echo and Ring devices. You probably figured that out. Mr. Livingston concludes the article by saying, I'm not planning to use the LoRa frequency for anything just yet, but as soon as it'll power a jetpack, sign me up. Well, LoRa is a very interesting data transmission standard, but also extraordinarily complex. In addition, it's a concept that fits in with other transmission standards that we know of, like 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. I'm thinking now that I might just see if I can find an easy to understand way of telling you more about it in a future Tech Talk. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I'm sticking with it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and have a great day.
How to convert PDF files to either a Word document or to a JPEG graphics file. I'm Hewie Poplock. Let's start with the PDF file. This is a 33-page document as a PDF. I consolidated it to a 5-page document, including the cover page, to make it a lot quicker to demonstrate what we want to do today. So right now we have this PDF file. Let's take a look at it. There's several graphics. There's a little chart in there. There's a spreadsheet. There are a few graphics in this document. So let's see how we can convert this file. To convert it to a Word document, we don't start with the PDF file. We're actually going to start with Word. And then we're going to tell it that we want to open a file, and we're going to go find that document by browsing. We go to the folder. Now we're opening it up in Word, but we're going to the PDF file. We click on it and we tell it to open. What we'll get is this dialog box, which says Word will now convert your PDF to an editable Word document. This may take a while. The resulting Word document will be optimized to allow you to edit the text, so it might not look exactly like the original PDF, especially if the original file contained lots of graphics. So let's go ahead and click OK. And we are now in Word, and it has converted it. This is a Word document. We can see, if we click here, we see the graphic. If we come down here, this is all editable. Here's another graphic. Here's a spreadsheet with columns and rows. Here's another graphic. So we've got our document now in Word. Now, what can we do with it? Well, let's take a look. We can take some of the graphics out of it if we want and use them for other purposes. So let's come down and let's say we want to use this graphic. We click on it. It puts a box around it and shows us how it's set in the document. But if we right mouse click on this, we can save as a picture. We can insert text. There's several things that we can do. And right now we can wrap the text in different ways. We can size and position it. Let's go ahead and just look at the size and position. It actually shows us some information about that and tells us that we've got it right now at over the original size of the picture. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take this and we're going to save it as a picture, and we're going to put it in the same folder, and we're going to call it network cable. Blue, and save it. Now if we go out to our folder, it's in there. If we click it and we open it, we're opening it in Irfan view. There is that graphic. So we can take each of the graphics and make them separate files from our document. Now we've got something here, which is a table. We copy that, and I am just going to copy it. And just to as an example, let's now open up Excel. And go to a blank document and paste it. And we can adjust it. So you could do some formatting and fix it up a little bit. So you can use that table. We're not going to save that. So you could use this table in different ways. Now, we have it in Word, so we can edit anything in here, or we can add our own words. We can say, this is our example. Let's make sure the text is in this. This is Arial 12, and we have it in Arial 12. So it's actually in the same font as our original document. So whatever we do with this, it's going to look like it was here to begin with. Now, if we want to save this back out as a PDF again, let's go ahead and let's delete this. It's not even in there now. And we can now do a file and save as, and we can save it in all of these different formats. We can save it back as a PDF, and this time we're going to call it fixed document, and save it. And we're going to go ahead and close our document now. You want to save the changes to the original. We're going to not save those. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring the folder back over here. And here's the fixed document. When we open it, it is a PDF, and it no longer has that one graphic that we deleted. We could actually delete all of the graphics if we wanted to and change it in any way we want. We readjust the paragraphs however we want to do it. So that's how you can first convert and then edit a PDF to a Word document. Next, we want to take that same PDF file. We want to make each page a JPEG. You might ask, why would you want to do that? Well, let's say you want to post one of the pages or a couple of the pages on Facebook or on a website or in a flyer or in a newsletter, and it's easier to just take a picture of the page and put the picture in that newsletter, on that flyer, or in the case of Facebook, you can't post a PDF. You would have to post it as a picture or as a graphic. So let's do that. We're going to open up that file. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to open it with the Acrobat Reader DC. That would be probably the version of Acrobat that you have on your computer. And you'll see that over here on the right are some things that we can do. So here is the document. And what we want to do is we want to export that PDF as convert it to a JPEG. Now we're going to have a problem, but let's do this anyway. When I click on convert, it goes to this page. Hey, it wants us to subscribe at $15 a month to the Acrobat Pro DC, which will allow us to do that. Well, you know what? I'm not going to spend $15 a month. I'm certainly not going to do that just to convert a few pages every once in a while. So there are some ways around that. So how are we going to convert our PDF to JPEGs for free and simply? Well, there's several ways you can do it. Obviously, you can do screen captures. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Microsoft Store and we're going to do a search. And we're going to search for PDF to JPEG. And it shows several here, or we can just do the search. And it finds several programs. But here's one as a PDF to JPEG. I went ahead and clicked on it and installed it. And then when it's installed, it's ready to launch. Or I can just go to the program that's now part of my Windows. To launch it, we have to go to our menu. Now, I hadn't mentioned earlier, but the name of that PDF to JPEG was any PDF to JPEG. So we'll find it on our menu right here under any PDF to JPEG. And you can see that it shows that it's new. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to pin that to the start so that we have it on our start, and I'm going to put it up here so I can find it easily the next time. So let's go ahead and click on it. What it's saying is, okay, load the PDF. So that's the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and click on that. And this is the document that we want. And we tell it to open. And we're going to tell it to save the image. So let's go ahead and click it. So where is it going to put it? We're going to put it in the same place. It's going to be a subfolder. It's going to create its own folder. We're going to do all of the pages. We could say just do the current page or just do pages from 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 or whatever. We're going to do all of the pages just so you can see it's done. We can save it in several formats. We can save it as a JPEG, a PNG, a BMP, a GIF, or a TIFF. But we're going to save it as a JPEG. You can scale it so you can make it bigger or smaller. We're going to leave it at 100%. And we're going to tell it to continue. It's done. It's that quick. And now we're going to open up the folder. And there's our 5 files. So if we open up first one, this is showing it at 81%. It's not the full size, but it is the full page. And we can go to each page. And each one of these is a JPEG, which we could then copy and paste to do whatever. Let's go the other way. Let's say we have a Word file or an Excel file, and we want to make a PDF out of it. That's very simple these days. Several years ago, you had to own the Adobe Acrobat Professional program in order to save a file as an Acrobat PDF file. But let's take a look at it now. We're going to open up a sample Word document. To save this as a PDF file, it's quite simple. There are a few ways in which you can do it, though. First way, and the quickest and easiest way, is go to File, do a Save As. We're going to save it in the same folder, but notice this drop down. What we're going to do is we're going to save it as a PDF. We're going to leave the same name, and we will then save it. And when we look at our folder now, we will see that there is a Word document called example.docs. If you want to open it with the reader, Adobe Reader, it's going to look the same way. It's going to look like this. You might not have this open on this side, and you can close this up. If you wanted to close that, you just click here, and it gives you your tools over on the side. And there's our PDF. This is at 176%, actual zoom to page level, and we see the entire page. So we've created a PDF from. But there is also another way in which you could do a PDF. There is another way in which we can do that. We're going to open up the Word document again. This time, instead of saving it, we're going to tell it to print. And you can change your printers, and depending upon what software you have installed and so on, you will find that there may be some different PDF formats, but one of them is Microsoft Print to PDF. When you do that, you're going to print it to a PDF. You click print. It says, okay, what do you want to call it? And we're going to call this Microsoft PDF version. I hit the caps, but that's all right. I hit the caps lock, but that's all right. We'll just leave it that way. Microsoft PDF version sample, and we'll say save. And now when we go back into the folder, we'll see the MS. So when we click on it, it's still a PDF. So there are different ways in which you can save a file as a PDF. And so any file, it doesn't, if it's not in Word, let's say it's in any program that you use, and it doesn't have the ability to save that file as a PDF, print to PDF and choose one of the choices that's on your computer, and make sure that after you finish it, the next time you go to print to your printer, change the printer back to your HP or your brother printer, and don't leave it on the PDF, where each time it's going to try to do that. Save it as a file, and you're not going to, it's going to confuse you and why it's not printing. This is Hewie Poplock. Thanks for joining.
It's Ron Brown with Tech for Seniors. Smart watches, a medical perspective. You know, as a physician with 35 years of experience, I'd like to give you my perspective on the life-saving features of your smartwatch. Now, you know the routine. If you like this video, please click the like. And if you want to see more of these, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. Let's get on with the show. You have two watches on the screen. The one on the left is worth $30. The one on the right, $300. Which one should you buy? My recommendations are on medical facts, not consumerism. Claims of health benefits are driven by companies selling the products. This is why you get a very odd response when you bring your ECG done by your watch in to see your physician. This is about to change, however. Here are the 3 takeaway messages I want you to get from this video. Why purchase a smartwatch? Which one should you buy? And what features should you look for? Let's look at the medical facts. In this picture, you'll see on the left, cataracts. As we get older, we can't see as well. So our eye lenses wear out and often require surgery to correct this. On the right-hand side, you'll see arthritis. We have arthritis in our knees and our hips. Again, we need surgery to correct this, and we get new joints. Our heart also ages and can have problems, particularly with the electrical system. Your heart can start to slow down, or it can speed up. If it slows down too much, you can have problems with consciousness. This can often lead to a disastrous result, causing loss of consciousness and an accident. Now, in the diagram here, you'll see a terrible car accident. No, actually, it's not. This was just some high school students staging a scene for impaired driving. But certainly, as a senior, we could be in a position where we're driving, our heart rate gets too slow, and we could lose consciousness. oftentimes you need a cardiac pacemaker. So let's look at the incidence of this. If we look at the graph here on the right-hand side, you'll see that if you are 60 years old, there is actually an exponential curve going up showing the incidence of pacemaker insertion. This is a very common problem. And if you reach the age of 80, there's a very good chance that you may require a pacemaker. Let's look at what happens when your heart rate speeds up too fast. This could be atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is the 5th cause of stroke. Again, let's look at the incidence. If you are 60 years old, let's look at the graph. It goes up exponentially. The same graph as with the slow heartbeat, it can go too fast as well. It's part of the aging process, and we need to be on top of this because we can either be in a fatal car accident or we can have a lifelong stroke to deal with. So let's look at how smartwatches can help us with this. All right, there are 3 watches that stand out above all the others because they have an advanced cardiac feature. They have the ability to do an ECG. So what does this mean and why is it important? The watches are the Apple Watch Series 4 to 6, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3, and the Fitbit Sense. So what makes these watches unique is that they can actually diagnose a cardiac complication called atrial fibrillation. Now, you're not constantly monitored. It's not constantly measuring your heart. But if you feel a bit weird, you get some palpitations, you feel a bit dizzy, then you can touch your watch in a certain way, and it does what we call an ECG. But the most important thing about this is it actually interprets the ECG and tells you if you have atrial fibrillation. This feature is FDA approved and has been validated to be an excellent service. So it gives you an interpreted electrocardiogram. Only these 3 watches. Let me show you my ECG. Here is my ECG that I did just yesterday. And in this, it shows, of course, who I am. It shows my age. My heartbeat was 81 beats per minute. And it tells me that I had what we call a normal sinus rhythm. So it means, what really that means is I don't have atrial fibrillation. And that's really all these watches do. Tell you if you do have atrial fibrillation or you don't. To review that again, they're the 3 watches that have the advanced cardiac diagnostic feature, and that's the Apple Watch, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3, and the Fitbit Sense. Now let's look at all the other watches that are out there, the smartwatches, the $30 smartwatch versus the $300, all right? They will all do your pulse, and they will all tell you if your pulse is too slow, or if your pulse is too fast, and all the watches monitor your pulse on an ongoing basis. So it's a 24/7 sort of thing. So if your heart is too slow, your watch is going to tell you, hey, your pulse is a little slow here, and maybe you need to see your doctor because it may mean a pacemaker. Let's say your pulse is too fast. Maybe you've got some palpitations. Suddenly your heart kicks in. It's going too fast. Well, you don't have the advanced cardiac features on there, but it's giving you a warning, and then you can get into your doctor, and they can do a proper electrocardiogram and make the diagnosis. So remember, let's monitor your pulse. Monitor your pulse. So important. Too slow or too fast. The Samsung Watch 3 is FDA approved to measure your blood pressure digitally. It does it accurately and is being certified. You're going to be seeing this feature come out on a lot of watches this fall. Do I think it's worth spending $300 to specifically buy a watch to measure your blood pressure? I don't. I think it's a great feature to promote interest in your blood pressure, and if it stimulates conversation with your physician and you become more interested in your blood pressure, that is a good thing. But measuring it with a $50 unit that you put around your arm is fine, and see no advantage in having a watch. Do this, or do I think that you should spend the extra money? Oxygen saturation. This is not FDA approved. The results are terrible, highly variable, and you should be extremely wary when using this feature on a watch. Emergency notification, very important. It is available, of course, on the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3 and, of course, the Apple Watch. It is not available on the Fitbit Sense. I think this is a good service. However, you must remember you have to have the watch on for this to work. We'll talk about that next. Fall detection. Fall detection is available on the Apple Watch and Samsung Watch as well. You must remember, though, in order for fall detection to work, the watch has to be on your wrist. So the problem with a watch is twofold. First, it has to be taken off to be charged. And then, of course, you have to put it back on and you have to wear it through the night. So if you're not going to wear the watch through the night, or you can't remember to put it back on, you should look for another solution to fall detection. And then there are a lot of other features of smartwatches. I'm not going to cover those in this video. This video is primarily for the medical features of smartwatches. In January of 2020, this research group from the Samsung Advanced Institute of Technology and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology made a discovery. They were able to measure your blood sugar without bodily fluids. They did this through a type of laser technology. What this meant was we would now be able to measure your blood sugar without actually having body fluids. It was only 1 year till the people involved in making watches were able to combine this technology into watches. This is truly the holy grail because with 30 million Americans having diabetes, the savings of this technology over the next 3 years could be $90 billion. So what's coming? Well, there is big money to be made here. The Apple Watch 7 will be released mid-September. The release date is already indicated, and this will indeed have blood pressure monitoring and blood sugar monitoring. Then let's look at Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, which is also rumored to have blood sugar monitoring. Not sure yet about this Fitbit Sense. But this clearly is a huge development, and whoever gets it right is going to run away with the Holy Grail. But let's see what happened this week. Well, I had all my slides ready to go. I had my presentations ready, and we were all ready for the new watches to come out. But what happened last week tore the whole thing apart. 2 huge announcements were made. The first was Samsung Galaxy watches would be discontinuing their Tizen operating system. All these Samsung watches, which were the closest to the Apple Watch, ran on the proprietary Samsung software called Tizen, Tizen. They announced this week they would be discontinuing that software and they would be using the Google Wear operating system. Ooh, what's going on here? And the second thing that blew me away was, of course, Google. Google, of course, purchased Fitbit. We all have Fitbits. We know the Fitbit operating system, but it is proprietary. Well, they're now discontinuing that on all their Fitbit line, and they're going to Google Wear as well. So what does this mean about watches from Google and Samsung? Lots of rumors going on right now. I've heard that Samsung Watch 4 will not be coming out. Then another rumor is they have already produced warehouses full of these watches. No idea. It's constantly changing. Okay, so where do we go with this? And will Apple run off with the Holy Grail? I would like all seniors to be more vigilant in monitoring their pulse for it being too slow or being too fast. Most watches will do this, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on the advanced cardiac monitoring features. This device made by AliveCar is called KardioMobile and is licensed by the FDA to do what the watches do. It does an ECG that is interpreted for the presence of atrial fibrillation. Unlike the watch apps, it can be used by multiple people. It connects to any smartphone and stores the ECG on your smartphone where it can be sent to your healthcare provider. This is the software that Apple used to develop the ECG on its watch, and it's been around for many years. There are two versions, one for $90 and the other for $150, but they both do the same thing. But the $150 one is a 6-lead ECG. This can provide your physician with more medical information and is the preferred choice if your physician shows some interest. These devices are available on Best Buy or Amazon and often found on sale. Well, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel to keep updated on this ever-changing watch story. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Seniors. Have a great day.